Hello there.
Welcome to the midweek video.
Welcome to Wednesday, everyone. You don't usually see me on Wednesday, but I wanted to fit in this little fun little extra bonus video because it's been something that has been asked many times, and I thought we'd just wrap it up before the end of the year. If any of you didn't know, this Friday actually is going to be my last video for the year, and then I'm taking a 2-week break. Very excited about that. I will go celebrate the holidays, and then I will come back on January 7th. So that is the plan, but in the meantime, you have to see me twice this week, so that's fun for you. So here's the plan for today. I want to do basically an exhaustive haul and review of everything I use coffee-wise in my kitchen. I get a lot of questions, I get a lot of DMs asking me, what do you think of so-and-so thing, or what was that thing featured at that timestamp? And I thought we're just gonna do a collective, we're gonna fit it all into one video. I am caffeinated, let's go. Okay, also one last thing, we need to do a little disclaimer. Now, while a majority of the products that I'm gonna talk about here today are purchased with my own money and I have used over the past several years, there are going to be a small percentage of products that have been sent to me over the past 2 years for free from brands. I feel like that's a pretty important thing to note. However, none of the products that we're going to talk about are going to be ones that were sponsored or even requested to be talked about in videos. These are only going to be ones that over the months of trial that I have used them, I have found to really like and have incorporated into my everyday routine. I'll also probably end up linking a majority of everything I talk about here down in the description in case you want to check it out. And to be clear, none of those are going to be either affiliate links and none of those are going to have discount codes associated. I'm not making any money by talking about these. I just genuinely want to tell you about things that I like and you have asked about in the past. I hope that all made sense. Okay, let's get started. It's time for category 1. We're starting off small with espresso glasses that I like. I have 2 in front of me. Right here, I have the Joey mug in 2.3 ounces from Fellow Products. I also have the Cruve Propel, which is about 2.5 ounces, so a little bit bigger. These are both double walled. This one is obviously made of glass, while this one is not. Appearance-wise, I like them both about equally. However, in use, I find myself leaning a lot more to the Cruve ones. I really like that it has a much wider lip around the outside. I find with my espresso machine and my portafilter and everything specifically, I find it's a lot more easy to pull espressos into this glass because it has this wider lip. I've experienced in the past with the Joey that frequently my streams of espresso, for a lack of a better term, will often fall outside the lip or down the side just because, you can see visually, it has a much smaller opening on the top. That being said though, the drinking experience out of this cup specifically is very nice. It's got a wonderful rounded lip. It's very heavy. It feels very substantial. So I found myself preferring to drink espresso out of this one. So if you're someone who is willing to dirty an extra glass, perhaps pull your espresso in one cup, transfer it to another to drink, that could be an option. However, if you are looking for which one is my absolute favorite, probably has to be the Cruve right here. Next we have your medium mugs or your drinking mugs. These are 2 that I have found myself using very frequently. These are ones that are in videos quite often. This one over here is kind of my go-to for larger milk drinks. This is from Created Co. This is from their artist series, and first of all, visually, I really enjoy it. Second of all, I found it to be a very high quality mug. I've liked all their ceramics that I've gotten from them, both sent and purchased. And yeah, so if any of you were curious about this one, Created Co., I really like it. Now on this side, it's where it gets a little bit more complicated. This is about a 6.5 ounce mug. This is what I use primarily for any videos that you see me pouring latte art into. The shape of your mug matters quite a bit when it comes to latte art, both because of how the milk flows into the mug, how much kind of canvas space you have on top here to pour your design into, and it's important. I really like the shape of this quite a bit. This is a 6.5 ounce again from Loveramics. Loveramics is probably my favorite kind of cafe grade ceramic brand. However, they are very, very tricky to find individuals of. They primarily sell wholesale to cafes. So if you can find one of these, it is coveted. You should buy it. I sometimes see ones of this size going for $40 on eBay, which first of all is nuts, but they're great. I really like them. So if you can get your hands on a Loveramics, highly recommend. Okay. Now this is the big one. This is the one that I continually get questions about, and I'll be honest, I haven't reviewed it because I don't think I really have much to add to the plethora of other reviews that it already has. In case you didn't know, this is the Ember mug. It's a smart mug, which sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. It comes with a coaster that essentially has a charging element to it. This has a heating element inside it so that through the app that pairs with it, you're able to control the exact temperature of whatever your drink is, whether that's coffee or tea or whatever you have in there. My review of it is pretty much what everyone else has already said. Is it really expensive? Yes. Is it necessary? Not really. But is it really nice? Yeah. I've had this for 1.5 years now. I've had very minimal issues with the software to hardware like connectivity. I've had very few issues with like software updating. I haven't had any real issues with any sort of like temperature control. Everything has worked exactly as it's supposed to over the last 1.5 years. And I use this probably every day, if not every other day. Like this is like a staple in my household. And again, it's expensive. It's not something you need to have. But if you think you might like it, you probably will. Now, the only downside I will add to that is I have noticed some wear and tear in the coating inside. If you can see in here, there are like lines that have begun to form. There is some like discoloring inside. Overall though, I haven't noticed any change in like the flavor. The coating also isn't chipping, which is a really nice thing. And if you got a darker colored mug, I imagine that would hide any sort of wear and tear you might see. However, because this is white, you kind of see any imperfections that might form. There you go. That's the review you've been looking for. Okay, that was category 1. Now, while I go get category 2 ready, I do want to give a huge thank you to the actual sponsor of today's madness of reviews. I want to give a huge thank you to Audible for sponsoring today's video. If you didn't know, Audible is a fantastic platform that has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet. As a member, you'll get a credit every month good for any title in Audible's premium selection, which is yours to keep forever in your Audible library. You'll get access to their Plus catalog filled with thousands of select audiobooks, podcasts, Audible originals, and even more. Audible is especially great because it's easy to use anywhere and at any time. For me, it's ideal when I'm doing chores around the house or commuting to work multiple times a week. And speaking of listening, I'm currently in the middle of The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. If you've followed me for a while, you'll know I'm all about my fantasy books, and I've been wanting to break into Sanderson's extensive library for a long time. The Way of Kings is an epic story with fascinating world building, well-developed characters, and a story that'll keep you on your toes. And with the holidays upon us, think of Audible as a gift to give yourself. Right now, for a limited time, save 60% on your first 3 months of Audible. That's only $5.95 a month. For more, go to audible.com/MDC or text MDC to 500-500. Welcome back, everyone. It is time for category 2. Coffee storage. Now, this is a fun one because I have 2 things right here. I like both of them, but I like both of them for very different reasons. So let me explain both, and then maybe you could pick which one you think would fit your life better. Starting off here, this one is probably pretty recognizable. I have it in the back usually. These are the ones that I keep on my counter most often, and I have 2 different sizes of them. Although this one just holds tea, so that's kind of fun. This is an Atmos container from Fellow Products. Again, you're hearing that name again because I have a lot of Fellow Products at my house. This is a vacuum sealed container that you can store coffee or spices or tea or any such thing in. All in all, the build is pretty simple. You have kind of a release button here on top. You also have a little marker that tells you when you have properly like vacuum sealed your container. It's kind of interesting. When I bought it, I wasn't really sure what I was getting into, so let me show you how it works. The top comes off, you fill it with whatever coffee or whatnot you're putting, and then you place the top back on. And here's where there's a little work involved. To completely pull all the air out of this and seal it, you have to just twist. So you gotta do this for a little bit. Now the indicator for when it's sealed is gonna be this little spot right here. I will try to angle it as best as I can, but when this plunges down, there's a little like green sign that you can see, and green means good. So go until you see that. The thing I don't like about this, and the thing that I've experienced with it quite a bit over the past like 6 months, is that it very easily loses this vacuum seal. More times than not, I have set my coffee in here, sealed it up, and like set it behind. And when I've woken up in the morning and come back out to brew my coffee, frequently I will find that this has popped up, even when I, twisted it until that green light was showing. I've mitigated this a little bit by like going the extra mile. So frequently I will just continue to kind of like do this for like an extra 20 seconds, really until you start to feel some very heavy resistance from the twisting. However, that being said, it did take me a while to kind of realize I needed to do that. Even though the Atmos was telling me that I had done a good job initially, it was still losing its seal very frequently. For me, it's a pretty big downside. Again, you can kind of fix it by continuing to move that air out for much longer than you should. But I don't think you should have to do that. I think it should just, the indicator should work correctly rather than you having to know to do that extra work. However, on the plus side, I do love the appearance of these. I also like the ability to be able to put your coffee labels inside. I think this is very cute. This is what I do with all my labels, where I will cut them out after I pour my coffee in, and I'll put them in the front. And then it's like a cute little display of my coffee in the back. So that is a huge plus. Now, this storage container is made by a company called Airscape. This one is significantly larger, and it uses a different system to remove the air from the coffee. It's 3 different parts. So you take off your top lid, and then inside, it's a fun sound. Ignore the coffee grounds. Inside, you essentially have this like plunger that you're gonna press down against the surface of the coffee. It's gonna push all of the air out of that space in between, creating a seal around the edge so that your coffee will stay fresh. I found that this works really well. There's a lot of consistency in it. You don't have any kind of like moving parts with the twisting like this one does, so there's very little room for error. My main complaint with the Airscape is that I don't love the appearance of it as much as I really like the fellow Atmos, but besides that, I think this works great. I really like it. Next category. I have so many brewers in my house. Maybe someday I will show you the hellscape that is my work closet, but until then, you'll just have to believe me. However, there are only a few that I find myself coming back to again and again. And we'll start off with the manual brewers. This is the Hario W60. It is a ceramic conical pour-over brewer. And adjacently to it, I also like its sister, the V60, which is arguably the more popular of the two, but I found myself using the W60 quite a bit. It's a fairly simple design that uses a conical filter. I really love the clean cup of coffee that it produces. I love the appearance of it, the design, and overall I've been extremely happy using it on a pretty regular basis. However, if you are not someone that prefers like a drip, a pour over sort of scenario, this is my French press. You have seen it a couple of times. This is the French press that I essentially swear by. This is the OXO, I believe, 8-cup French press. I've talked about it quite a bit in the past, and it's great. This is a wonderful little thing if you are someone who likes immersion brews. One of my all-time favorite features of this is this. So you have your plunger. This is a pretty standard component of a French press, but then you also have a scoop. Now, this is used for, you place it in when you're doing your brew. You have all your coffee and your water down there. After you drink all your coffee and you're left with just the ground sitting at the bottom, instead of having to like shake it or like bang it against your composting bin or like your sink, which don't put coffee grounds down your sink, but if you do, you're shaking it out. Instead, you just lift your little scoop. It has a nice little seal around the edge of the carafe, and you pull your coffee grounds out, and then you just dump it, and it's great, and I love it. Also, I will mention, since you're able to remove this glass carafe from its stainless steel like holder and insulator, pretty much this entire component is dishwasher safe, which makes cleanup even easier. Now, when we talk about automatic brewers, I always start off with this right here. This is the Bonavita 8-cup connoisseur brewer. I have had it for, I believe, about a year now, and I use it genuinely every day. If I am not using it, my partner is using it to brew coffee because I am probably out traipsing around at a cafe somewhere. This is a one-touch brewer. It very much does the job entirely for you. This is the only button on it. It's the power button. You turn it on, your coffee starts brewing. You have a couple different amounts of coffee that you can brew. You can brew 4, 6, or 8 cups, so it's pretty flexible whether you're a single person or whether you're even 2 or 3 people. Inside the basket, it uses flat bottom filters, very easy to find, and it also comes with this double-walled stainless steel coffee carafe. This is the only part of it that I find to be sometimes a little bit annoying. I have encountered issues in the past with pouring coffee out of this. I find that this isn't a very like pourable spout. Frequently, I will have like a little bit of drippage coming down the side or a little bit of spillage when the coffee doesn't make it into my cup. That's like a little bit frustrating, but it's minor. And I find if you just ensure that your lid is screwed on as tight as possible, for the most part, it will stop any of that. But yes, if you're looking for a very easy coffee brewer, I like this one a lot. And by now, speaking espresso, you probably all know Big Pink back there. That back there is the Rancilio Silvia Pro X, which is quite a mouthful, but it's also a really nice machine. I have done extensive discussion about the Silvia in the past, and in fact, if you go back to my Espresso Doesn't Die video, I do kind of a little bit more of a deep dive about the machine. Moral of the story is I have been very happy with the performance of the Rancilio machines. I think the Silvia is a very nice home machine. If you are looking for something that is close to cafe grade, it is certainly not a starter machine, nor is it necessarily an affordable machine. It has a high price point. These run between like $1,500 to $1,800, so they're expensive. Let's be very clear about that. However, if it is something in your wheelhouse that you are looking to add to your coffee setup, if you are looking for a machine of that quality with a lot of customization, with a lot of like fine control over your espresso and your milk steaming, then I do think it could be the thing for you. It kind of falls in the same line as like the Ember mug, where it's a very pricey machine. It's not something that you need to have in any way. There are many other machines that might fit your needs and your price point better. However, if it is something that you are looking into and you think you might like to have, I say you probably will, because I have yet to be disappointed by it. Also, it comes in pink. Like, that's so cool. What are we on now? Category 4? I'm gonna call this the odds and ends category. This is gonna be all the things that I use frequently that I can't categorize. I got some books. This first one is something that was gifted to me by my dad, actually, pre-barista era. This is when I was applying to coffee jobs and really just trying to like take in all the coffee knowledge I could. This is called The Curious Barista's Guide to Coffee. It is by Tristan Stevenson, and I think it's a really great like starting point if you are interested in coffee, anywhere from the production to the nitty-gritty of milk steaming. It really covers everything, and I think it's a really great like overview of the world of coffee. Of course, there are so many books that go into much more like nitty-gritty of any topic that is featured in this book. But again, if you're someone who is getting into coffee, or you know someone who's getting into coffee, I think this is a great starting point. Similarly to The Curious Barista's Guide to Coffee, there is one other book that I would add to this stack that I don't unfortunately have a physical copy of right now, but I would highly recommend it, and that is James Hoffmann's The World Atlas of Coffee. It is a fantastic book. James is a gem and a wonderful person, and I would highly recommend any of his works to literally anyone getting into coffee or even not into coffee. Like, it's cool information. So I would add this to the stack if I had a physical copy to add. And on a slightly lighter note of coffee books that I have really enjoyed over the years, The New Rules of Coffee by Sprudge founders Jordan Michelson and Zachary Carlson. This is a really wonderful little like stocking stuffer or like under the tree sort of book. Not only does the inside have a ton of like very educational, informational like stuff in it, there's also like lots of little like funny like little quips and jokes and beautiful illustrations, and it's just an all-around like fun little coffee table book. Pun intended. This right here is the scale that I use every day. This is the Pearl by Acaia. Not only is it super sensitive, so I can weigh out things to a 1/10 or a 100th of a gram, it also has a couple different like settings and features that are really helpful when it comes specifically to coffee brewing. There's a sort of timer function so that you're able to track the amount of time your pour has been going for while also seeing the amount of water, like the weight of water you've added, which is super cool. Physically, it's a really nice size. This fits my portafilter very nicely across it, which is kind of my primary usage of it. It comes with this lovely little mat on top, so you avoid chipping any of the surface. It's rechargeable, and I really like it. You'll also find these in a lot of cafes that you'll go to. Acaia makes pretty much 2 different types of scales that are very frequently used in cafe. They make the Pearl, which is going to be this larger one. They also make something called the Lunar, which is a much smaller scale, and frequently people will put it on their tray, like underneath their portafilter, so that when you're pulling your espresso, you're able to weigh it as it comes out. But yes, scales. Now these loud boys right here, these are my pitchers that I use pretty frequently. I have basically 2 different places that I like to buy them from. These 2 over here are both from Slow Pour Supply. I have known Anita at Slow Pour Supply for quite a while through coffee events. She is amazing. She runs a fantastic company. And if you are someone who is looking into buying their own pitcher, perhaps for the first time, I would highly recommend you go check out their selection. This one is very large. This is, I believe, their 22 ounce. It has a round spout, and it's nice. This is perfect for like 16-ounce drinks. This one, however, looks a little different. It is a handleless pitcher, so you as you can see, does not have a handle on it. It does have this nice like faux leather grip, so when you're pouring, you hang on to it and you have a ton of control because the movement is coming directly from your hand rather than when you would pour with this, you're holding on and kind of relying on your like pitcher momentum. Anyways, slow pour has pitchers for pretty much like every single like shape or size or like even color that you could ever want. So feel free to check that out. My go-to, my little baby that I take to all my throwdowns is this little one from Barista Hustle. I really love the very, very like rounded scooping like tip of this pitcher. I think it's a wonderful shape. I like how kind of squat and small it is. I use this one very frequently as well. So slow pour supply or this little baby from Barista Hustle. Now this requires some information. You will frequently see this piece placed behind me right in front of my grinder. These tools are pretty necessary for when I make espresso. This is my tamp and this is my distributor. And to make sure they don't get chipped and or chip the surface of my counter, I use this little silicone mat and it's wonderful. The way it works is you just set it on the edge of your counter, have these two little spots. You set your tools on them, they're all safe, they're covered, nothing's gonna get damaged, and then you get your portafilter, you set it right on the mat, and then you're all ready to just do that whenever you want to. I think this is a very necessary addition to your bar setup, and it's also very cheap. I believe I got this one for like $15, and while I wish I could tell you it was from somewhere very fun, I just picked it up on Amazon, so I will link that below if you'd like to see it yourself. I reviewed this almost a year ago. When it comes to hand frothers, this is the Nanofoamer and is the one I primarily use. I think this has proven to be the most long-lasting, in my opinion. You have the interchangeable screens here on the end, which allow for pretty fine control over your milk texture. Again, this does not heat your milk. This is simply adding air and aerating it. But it's very nice. It's very like ergonomic. I don't use that word often, but it is a very ergonomic tool. And if you were looking for a hand frother, this is the one I very much like. It's just all around fun. You just like, here you go. It's a milk frother. What else do you want? And lastly, last but definitely not least, I've got spoons. You'll see me using these whenever I am cupping, but frankly, I use them also for like cereal and ice cream because they're spoons and you can use them for whatever you want. However, they are specifically designed to be used for cupping. You have this very nice long handle. I could just put this one down, I suppose. You have this wide bowl so that you can scoop up a good amount of coffee, bring it up to your mouth and slurp it very intensely over your palate. So you're able to kind of taste the coffee at its most like tasteable. I don't know where I was going with that. They come in a very wide variety of colors. This is the rainbow and then also the gold, and they are made by Umeko Motoyoshi, who owns the company that has them. They come in a pretty wide variety of colors. Right now I have the rainbow and I also have the gold. And honestly, I can't say enough good things about the person who makes them. Umeko Motoyoshi is fantastic. They're a wonderful, wonderful coffee person. And if you don't already follow them on Instagram or honestly anywhere, you probably should. They also made what is, to this day, my all-time favorite coffee sticker of all time. It's a little round rainbow colored sticker that says, "Tasting notes are opinions." I couldn't agree with that more. So all their stuff is amazing, and along that line, I also have something else that I use very, very frequently. I was lucky enough to sneak in on the drop between Umeko and James Hoffman again. I like James's stuff. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. These are little demi-tasse spoons. While you don't necessarily need to have these ones specifically, I do recommend you have some sort of demi-tasse spoon at home because I very much agree with the sentiment that you shouldn't necessarily always be swirling your espresso. I think you get much better incorporation when you stir your espresso. So some sort of tiny spoon to go along with your tiny cup is probably going to be valuable in your life if that's something you care about. Okay. I think that was the entirety of my current coffee go-to collection. All these things have been accumulated over quite a long period of time. And there's been a lot of trial and error. I have used a lot of coffee products that I don't necessarily love and have either like given away or given to friends or whatnot, but I also have a lot of products that I talked about today that I really, really like. And hopefully this gives you at least some reference point of what I use and perhaps if it would fit what you need. I hope this answered some questions before the year end, and maybe perhaps this also kind of functioned as like a holiday gift list of sorts. because I think I featured some stuff that not your everyday coffee drinker would have. I think I have a lot of very extraneous coffee tools that are not at all necessary, but they are nice to have. So if you would like to treat this as your holiday gift list, feel free to do that as well. Now, I need to go get some water. I need to prepare myself for the next video I'm about to film, which is gonna come out on Friday. And I'm warning you here today, for everyone who made it to the end of this video, what is happening on Friday is so unbelievably cursed. We are going out with a bang, last video of the year, and it's a doozy. So keep an eye out for that. Have a fantastic week. I will see you all actually on Friday, very soon. Goodbye.